that new metal thing. I don't. It's so funny that who made that up? Like who
Yeah.
all of a sudden made it? Who made that cool? Like it's like, did that guy get to put that in the dictionary? Is he getting paid for it? Because I hope he is, because I don't think that
Yeah.
many people know what that means. But I would rather be new metal than old metal, I guess. But
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Rockman Power Hour. I'm joined by my co-host, Ryan Stick. Ryan, you are looking fabulous. You got a T-shirt that we need to talk about because we're at the same show. And we've got a lot of other things that we need to catch up on. But before we go too far, let's address the elephant in the room. And apparently in your refrigerator, if you're listening to this, Ryan's got this great background that he uses all the time where he's in his fridge with a bunch of Heartbeat hot sauce, and I love it. So thank you to Heartbeat Hot Sauce, the heartbeat of the Rockman Power Hour. They help us keep the lights on here, and we actually love their product. Very, very excited to have them with us as our title sponsor. And if you've not tried Heartbeat Hot Sauce yet, do yourself a favor and do just that. Use our promo code Rockman20. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can see that right below you if you're wondering how to spell it. But it's Rockman20, and that'll get you 20% off your entire order. And one, Ryan, that I've been dipping into lately that has kind of found its way into my heart has been the Caribbean-style mango habanero.
Ooh,
it's got a little bit of a kick to it. It's really good. I love using this on eggs in the morning. And if you're making a sandwich, whatever, it goes really, really well with a lot of things, and love it. The Caribbean-style mango habanero from Heartbeat Hot Sauce, one of many that you can get if you go to their website. They just launched a new sauce called the Campfire or Camp Sauce.
Oh, I like that.
Like a summer camp kind of themed sauce. And got to try that. And they got a couple of cool shirts as well. They've got great merch too, Ryan, by the way. If you've ever been on their site, they make great shirts, great hats. Just a great company out of Thunder Bay, Ontario. And we're very, very happy to have them with us on the journey. Also, big thanks to our friends over at Studio House Designs. I am rocking this. I think this is called the Loser Stack.
Yeah, that's pretty much my generation's,
right.
coming of age stories.
Yeah.
Like if you were 13 in the 90s, oh my God.
Check it out. This is all movies that Ryan loves.
Yeah. And really cool that they threw Clueless in there too, actually.
Yeah, definitely.
Because Clueless, great from that time, but very near dear to me is Beavis and Butthead Do America, and I still see Punk. Yeah.
And I love how it's on the top of the stack. So if you've never checked out Studio House Designs, they're a great company out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And they do great work, design great shirts. And these stacks are one of the things that put Cody on the map. He would take VHS tapes and he would stack them up. And then that would be the T-shirt design. He would do them according to director or genre. And it's just a great thing. That, of course, like happens everywhere, the internet has just grabbed and ripped off and taken for themselves. But he's the originator of that. So hats off to him, and hats off to Studio House Designs for always keeping us looking fresh. Now, Ryan, there's a reason why you're not wearing a Studio House Design shirt. That's because you are wearing a Metallica shirt.
Yeah.
And you and I were commissioned by the folks at Eventco to do a video for the Metallica show to let people know what they could and could not bring to the show, what to expect in terms of a pre-party, all this fun stuff. And in exchange, we got some great seats to go to the show. And you brought your buddy Jason Boudreau.
Yep, the other Jay in my life. We've been friends this September for 30 years.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, and he's a really generous guy, especially after a few drinks.
Well,
and,
I noticed. And let's set this up by saying Jason's married with 3 mouths to feed as well as his wife.
Yeah,
so 4. He's constantly working. He's a hard worker, great dad, incredible dad. You just see the way he interacts with his kids. But when he gets to go out, he gets to go out.
Yeah.
And you were sitting next to me. You're like, hey, Jason's at the merch. He wants to know if you want a hat. I'm like, I'm not making him buy me a $60 Metallica hat. Like, I know we got him the ticket and, we brought Julia, but it was just like, you don't have to do that. But he was nice. He bought you that shirt. I saw he came back with 2 shirts. He hands it to you.
No, he messaged me about the hat thing because Jason's one of those guys that, like when you do something for somebody and they're like, hey, thanks, man. They never mention it again. Right. Jay will bring it up months, 2 years later, because he's just really naturally a very appreciative guy. But also to note, everybody, especially to Shannon and his wife who's listening, Jay and I buy stuff for each other all the time.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Out of all the friends, we're the guys that continuously give each other Christmas presents and birthday presents and apparently Metallica presents. And it was a really interesting night. And when you and Julia had to peace out a bit early, and when you did, 2 of our friends kind of walked over there in a similar section, and they kind of rocked out with us for the last 2 songs. And we were trying to find our friend and friend of the Rockman Power Hour, Marco, who was helping us film all of our interviews for Fantasia. He was living his best life on the floor with his little brother Chris, and they had a very unique experience. And considering Marco was like the metal Fonzie of my high school, who told me about Pantera and Metallica, and the world told me about Metallica, but he specified which Metallica to listen to. Yeah. And shout out to Massimo too. I don't know if you're at the show, bud, but anyway. So Marco, the fact that he got to see Pantera like that close makes me feel warm inside, to be honest, because as much as self-serving as it is to see a concert for myself, when you know a true fan gets that true experience, then this is why, concerts are magic. And I'm glad magic happened.
No, definitely. And you could tell that everybody in the Olympic Stadium, both nights were just having the best time ever. So shout out to Metallica and everybody and Venko and all the great people that put that show on, because it's why are you laughing?
Sorry. Can I tell you like a funny story that I didn't want to tell you on the phone? I wanted to tell you on the podcast.
Sure.
So I don't do much anymore when it comes to the partying as much as I used to. And you are 30 years sober, which
31,
which which is every time I do these things, I keep thinking to myself as it happens, Rockman is so much smarter than me. It's not that I was hammered, but I just had enough where there was too much in me and my stomach couldn't handle anymore. And then when I see Big Dave at the end of the night, he's called Big Dave for a reason. He has a big appetite for many things. And he hands me a beer when the show's over. He buys a beer. And I'm just kind of like thinking, no one's told Big Dave, I'm like 87 years old now. I can't do this anymore. So I'm holding it for a little while, kind of like, where's Marco? Okay, let's meet up with him. And I take one sip and I know something's wrong. And I'm like, hey, Dave, you have this, man. Because at that point, Big Dave had finished his big beer and needed more.
Another big beer.
So I hand it back to him. I'm like, hey, man, you just have it. He's like, cool, man. And I'm just thinking to myself, oh, crap. So we're downstairs and we're trying to find Marco. And like I said, I'm actually in my right state of mind. I'm like calling him, coordinating. I'm like, okay, we're near this sign. Let's figure this out. I'm actually like, I have my head together. But before I can call him, I'm texting him all this stuff, right? And I call him, and the second I call him, and I hear his voice say, hey, man, where are you guys? I burp, and a bunch of vomit goes into my mouth, which I catch with my lips together. And I don't want anyone to know what just happened, and nor I can't say anything to him. So Marco's like, hey, man, how's it going? And all I can respond to, and which sounds similar to Young Frankenstein, which is, And then I hang up the phone immediately. I go over to a garbage can, and I'm kind of like, I look left, look right, no one's looking at me. I stick my head slightly in there and just spit out all the vomit really quick, and then up like nothing fucking happened. And I stroll over, and then I call Marco back, and I'm like, okay, we're at this sign under here, everything's fine. And then the security guard is like, you can't go back in. I'm like, I didn't leave. I was just pointing at a sign. So, and I'm thinking to myself, that's what you saw? The last 5 minutes? Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, your night and my night were very different. My night was more like looking through all the food stations to find where I could get like the best deal and the most healthiest option. And then I found Crudescence, and Julie and I found Crudescence, which you probably
That's
know.
very cool.
You know Crudescence because of Mel.
Yeah.
And there were croissants wraps there that were the cheapest thing there and the most nutritious. And we're like, here we are, we're sitting there. The look on Julia's face from before to like pre-croissants to post, like she was so happy after because we had eaten something that wasn't, a $9 piece of pizza or $6 fries, which actually, the $6 fries were probably the best deal there.
Yeah.
Things were so expensive and it's okay. And I understand why. I mean, it's venue, right? But I can understand why some people will go to a venue and get their pre-drink on.
Yeah.
You
said the words pre-drink and my ankles started hurting. I don't know. I'm just like,
yeah.
I've changed, man.
No, well, it's normal. You get older, and even me, like at one point, like as incredible as the show was, I'm like about an hour in, and they're playing Orion, which is like I think it's 7 or 9 minute instrumental. I looked at Julia and I'm like, "Are you good?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm good." She's like, "I've got to be up and on site for Ilsonic." She was working with Venko for one of the festivals that was in town, and I'm like, I'm good. I've seen Metallica like a bazillion times and I'm okay, Yeah. And we left and we were like in the metro with nobody. And it was so weird to see which people are leaving Metallica now. And the people that were leaving Metallica now were me and Julia, one guy with his young kid, and people that were so fucking obliterated. They didn't even know where they were. And
that's such a shame, man.
I know, but definitely you learn your lesson from going. And I mean, countless times when I was young, that happened to me. I went to a show and got I blacked out and didn't even know where I was, and I got home and like I don't remember the show much. And it's because so it's but it also though, Ryan, you get older and it's like your body's like I don't want that. So you're taking that last sip and you're like your body's like nope.
Yeah, I've like the face of a 29-year-old, but my body right down low. As you go lower, it ages rapidly. It is crazy, like acknowledging the change. But then you see some people that just can't let the party go, and ever. And that's when it gets concerning. I find like you can't really tell when someone's like super young, like and they're messed up all the time. You're like, oh ha, you. But then when they're like 50 years old and they're hammered at 2:00 in the afternoon, it's like, oh, this sucks. Yeah, this sucks. So,
this is a great segue to our guest because our guest, if you look at pictures of Lajon from 1999, and if you look at pictures of Lajon from 2023, that guy doesn't age at all.
Well, it's because he's not puking in garbage cans like me.
Well, listen, Sevendust were known for, to party. I mean, those guys had a good time, but that guy is just a freak of nature. Not only, I mean, he looks incredible, but he sounds incredible. And his band, I mean, they've always been a really good live band. I'm fortunate enough to have played with Sevendust, to have seen them several times. Never does it get old. They always put on a great show. So if you ever get a chance to see Sevendust, do it because they are great. Now, I'm excited about this interview because, Ryan, we've been sitting on this one for a bit. The new album came out July 28th. It's called Truth Killer. And it's like all Sevendust catalog. It's just solid. It's consistent. They're one of those bands that, it's you always know you're going to get a great record from them and you're going to get a great performance from them. And I'm really, really grateful that we got to have Lajon on the podcast this week. He's, again, wonderful guy, great stories, and a great singer. I mean, a really, really good singer. I've never met somebody, that sings live the way he does so consistently. And it's funny. We saw Mammoth that opened up that Metallica show, who, Wolfgang, who we had on the podcast last week, I believe, or a couple weeks ago.
Last week.
And he just delivers and he's solid like Sevendust. And I've been seeing all these pictures of Lajon lately, and he's wearing a Mammoth t-shirt.
Oh, cool.
And I'm like, that makes sense. Real recognizes real, and they support each other. So really happy to have him on the show. So without any further ado, here is our chat with Lajon Witherspoon of Sevendust. I think the last time I saw you was when we played with you, Slaves on Dope. We played with you years ago.
Yes.
And I remember we had these Adidas jackets, and I think we gave you one.
Oh my
had
God!
sleeves on to open the back.
I still have it. So man, my wife calls me a hoarder. I still have that in one wardrobe case downstairs for sure. I have to pull that back out. That's awesome. How have you been, brother?
I'm good, man. I remember the first. I'll never forget the first time I heard about this band. I believe it was probably 1998, and
Yeah.
I had gone to Andrew Goodfriend's office in New York when he was working with Kirby,
Oh.
and I saw this poster of you and of the band, and I remember this was on the first record, and you were just about to pop, and I remember you were a band that they were working with, and I remember right away I was like, he's got body glove shorts on like Corey Glover. This guy's got to be cool.
Oh no,
I
never wore the body glove shorts ever.
It was either a top or something. I remember
It might have been a tank top, but I never was comfortable enough to wear the nut crotchers for me. No, back then for sure.
but I remember you had something on with body glove, and the immediate thing I said is like, dude, the last time I saw someone pull off body glove was in Living Color, and I immediately went and I listened to the record, and I was just blown away because what I love about this band. And what I've always loved about this band since I first heard about you and been, got to play with you. And then, been following you. One of my best friends joined your band, Sonny Mayo, at one point.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. So what I've always loved about this band is not just the talent, but just the way that you guys approached quote unquote new metal, because you went from a point where you had a guy, who could fucking sing,
Thank you.
There were a lot of guys that did new metal that, they could scream, they had attitude, but you had chops. And that was what always set you guys aside from the rest of the bands of that generation. So I'm glad to see that there's another record coming out at the end of the month. I'm glad to see you're still doing it. And it seems like this band's in a really good place right now.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for all those kind words. That new metal thing, it's so funny that who made that up? Like who all of a sudden made it, who made that cool? Like, it's like, did that guy get to put that in the dictionary? Is he getting paid for it? Because I hope he is, because I don't think that many people know what that means. But I would rather be new metal than old metal, I guess. But but thank you for that's something that I've always wanted to do. Is I wanted to be a singer in my band and in this industry. That's what I wanted to be, as a singer. Melody is something that I still believe is a very strong thing. It could be the heaviest riff in the world, and you could still have melody over it, and everything doesn't have to be. I want to. I would like to have a song where I could sing it for the next 50 to 100 years if I'm living that long. I wouldn't be able to sing. Well, I wouldn't be able to do that down the road. I don't think anyone would want to hear me doing that. It was a good song back then. I want it to be a good song forever. With that being said, man, Sevendust, we're very blessed right now. I think I can't believe that we were able to stick around this long, and then the pandemic slowed everything down. We released an album during the pandemic, never got to tour it. Leading up to now, signing a new record deal with Napalm, which I didn't think that bands even sign record deals anymore. And thank the Lord to that. And I look at it, and I'm doing an interview with you. I'm doing interviews all day long. International press letting me know that I know we're going to get back overseas and everything. We've done 4 new videos. People seem to be accepting the album right now. We just did a tour with Alter Bridge, and it was 2.5 weeks, and we put a new song in from the album, and it went over well. And we're looking forward to going back out here in August with Mammoth and Alter Bridge, and then in October with Dope, my good friend Etzel Dope, and then Static X, which is, it's going to be great.
And it's crazy to see, you're talking about how like you'd rather be new metal than old metal, but now new metal, quote unquote, new metal. And I still don't know if new metal has the umlaut over the U or not, but
exactly.
I don't know. We'll have to check that, because in being someone who's kind of part of that movement as well.
Right.
But I got to tell you, man, what's great about it is that, like everything, there's a resurgence that's happening. So, and it happens about every 25 years where you get a group of kids that wish they were part of that movement. And I remember when I was growing up, for me, it was, the late 60s, early 70s. Like I wished I could have been a part of that. So there was the resurgence of the Doors. And I remember growing up, I'm 52. So that was the sweet spot where it's like everybody wished they were part of that Zeppelin thing at the beginning. So I'm seeing now a lot of 20-year-olds and 25-year-olds that are like, man, a new metal must have been so cool. And there's this thing where they want to be like it. They want to dress like it. They want to kind of be part of that late 90s, early 2000s thing. And especially when I talk to kids from South America, they're just like, man, like they love that era of music.
Yeah, Jesse, you just made that chill bumps when you said that, because you said you're 52. I turned 50 October 3rd of last year.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's because where we're at and what we've done and what we've seen and on the course of our lives kind of, it's kind of the same a little bit.
Yeah.
Just recently in the interviews, I said, there's a movement going on. And I said, I don't think people realize it, that they're a part of it. And they don't even realize that they're a part of this movement right now, because we've been sheltered for these last couple of years, and it's been back, and we're held in. And now I go out in these concerts, and these kids right now are back at 8 o'clock in the morning outside the tour bus, knowing good and well we're not going to be out there until 9:30 at night, or, you'll see us, but you're not going to be at the show until 9:30 or whatever. It's a movement again. It's a it's a contagious energy in the air, not the sick energy, but the energy of like, we need this medicine of music and to be together. And I mean, it's an exciting time right now.
And it's those bands, like all those bands you're saying you were touring with, like, bands like Dope, bands like Static X, like people wish they could have been there for that first wave. So the fact that our rock stars, or the rock stars of that era, are healthy enough, and maybe that's due to us just living better lives now, to go out and be convincing and do that again. It's great. So it's awesome to see all of these bands getting another kick at the can, if you will, and getting another resurgence. Because as well as I do, when you're a career musician, you continue. I mean, you guys don't stop. You always put out records. You're always touring. But there's dips. There's times where it feels like it's what's going on, and now it just feels like a time where it's really happening again. And I'm just happy to see that.
Oh, thank you, man. It's very exciting. And it's also it's time to get back to work, because the wife's looking at us like,
get out of here.
Get out of here. It's like, all right, we get it. You know what, man? But that whole thing with the pandemic and everything, I'll tell you what, Jason, I'm sure you know this. My normal life was not normal at all. My normal being dad and being the singer for the band and the artist and the writer and all that stuff is completely different. And it changed my world when that pandemic hit, and I was able to be here and be present, and not be present for like a month and then be gone for 2 months, but be present for really important things, like not having our family Doc Ryan. Thank you, Lord, for him being in our lives. Take my daughter to the daddy-daughter dance, and being able to do things like that. And even though panic, but being here for the first day of school, taking my son to football, baseball, basketball practice, taking the daughter, picking her up. After the pandemic, first off, she was in the 7th grade when the pandemic started. Yeah, and then good God, then she all of a sudden it lets up, and then she's in freaking high school. And we got to get her a car. And it's like, what? Wait a second. Daddy just did 3 shows and blinked, and everybody's, what? Wait a minute. What's going on in this world right now? Slow down. It's a bit to catch up with, but I'm riding that wave, man. It's scary. But at the same time, life continues, right?
Yeah. And it's nice to see, not only, I mean, this is something we're always talking about. It's nice to see stuff coming back to normal and stuff, people being back and being able to tour. But I can imagine for a band like you, it must have been hard, because you guys were always road dogs. You guys never shied away from touring. So I'm sure when things kind of stopped, you had to, you were around, but I'm sure there's that little, you were around for all these things that were important, but I'm sure there was a small part of you that was like, I get the fuck back out there. Like,
oh man, it was crazy. Sometimes, you go to your favorite spot, and we call it the Sunset Grill, and it's a corner of knowledge. And I've been invited to the corner of knowledge, and it's nothing but a bunch of old retired dudes that are like in their 70s.
Yeah.
And it's the coolest spot. And when you get invited to that spot, you've made it. It's cool. And I just sit there at the corner of knowledge, and we talk to these old guys, and they just talk about life and the stories, and we talk about touring, and it just it's let me know that it's okay to be older and still be cool.
Yeah, well, that's it. And there's no doubt that, I mean, I've seen footage of you guys playing over the last little bit, and there's no slowing down with this band. I mean, this band is always, I'll never forget, you guys were one of the first bands that I saw that used trampolines.
Oh my God, you remember that? That's why
I do.
I think people's backs are broke right now and knees are blown out.
I remember the trampolines, and I remember it was so expertly placed because you couldn't see them. The sight line wouldn't see them. So all of a sudden, these guys would be bouncing, and you'd be like, how's that happening? But you guys had them placed low enough that people didn't understand how that was going to work.
So what we had, they looked like monitors.
Right.
And behind the monitors were those all they were those the exercise things that our moms used to use, used to bounce on, and that's all they were. But they were positioned this way, like up, so the guys would go and hit them, and sometimes would almost go behind Morgan's drums. I only hit it a few times because I probably would have flown on the backside of that stage. But it was so funny we didn't realize the effect that it was having on people because we weren't seeing ourselves at the time until we saw video, and it's like it was like ridiculous how high we were going up in the air.
Oh, it was. I remember going like, "What the hell?" And then, did anybody ever get hurt?
No, we never got hurt, man. I'm sure there was some, maybe some busted knees or something, but no, there was never anything where anyone was in a wheelchair or crutches or anything. I think we had more accidents tripping over monitors and stuff instead of those trampolines. But those trampolines are somewhere deep in a storage area.
But they were great, but it's the kind of thing that what was great about this about Sevendust is you guys always try to elevate it. You always are trying to find a way to make it a little bit different, a little bit better.
We didn't have the cash like all these other bands had. They had bombs and stuff. We had like some incense and a Chico stick and some trampolines. It was like we're trying. Here's a firecracker. God dang it! There you go. That's our pyro for the night.
But what you did have and you still have is you have an incredible drummer. He's always been one of the guys that I've loved being able to watch. Privileged enough to be able to watch him from the side a few times, and he's always kind of been that backbone. For this band. How does he keep playing the way he plays? Because he doesn't just play; he performs, and it's like he's working out when he's playing.
Yeah, it's in him, man. I think it's in us all. It's our DNA, man. I think that of course we get older and we complain and laugh at each other and talk, but you know what, man? When we get on that stage, that's our serenity, and that I feel like there's still a magical place where all those elements and worrying about the bills or if the wife is doing that to you or whatever's going on in your life, I think for that hour, 2 hours, or 45 or 30 minutes or however long it takes, that's where that's the peace. That's you know what I mean? That's where that's the happy spot. That's where it's all makes sense for me, and I think that's for this whole band, and that's where it makes sense. And it might not make sense right after the show, but it makes sense right. But right there on that stage, and we're in that studio and stuff, it all makes sense, man. We're on that stage, and those beautiful people that I say family are enjoying it and feeding back and saying this is what we needed, and thank God that this is here. That's what I live for, man, and that's why I still do it. And I feel like for whatever reason, as long as we've been doing it, it feels like it's a new beginning for us in a weird, crazy way. Just with everything that's happened in the world and signing this new record deal and having the opportunities again to have these interviews that we haven't done in a zillion freaking years, with having a label behind you, you kind of realize that, dang, man, I guess there is a team that's working, and making things happen. And so it feels good. It feels good to have that backing again. It feels like back in the old days, you know what I'm talking about, when you felt like somebody was courting you. It's like, okay, cool. We're paying back. We got to pay back all this shit, but it's good to be having a girlfriend right now.
Well, yeah. And that's the thing. Like there was the time I try to tell this to young bands because, I worked in radio for about 13 years and I do the podcast, but I try to give back to young bands because I've been there, done that, done all that stuff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And, you talk to them and I'm like, you guys don't understand. There was so much money flowing around in the late 90s before Napster.
Yes.
Bands were getting signed. Like, I remember getting offered a publishing deal for our record. They offered us $250,000 and we kind of hesitated because Linkin Park had just gotten $1 million.
Exactly right.
But you know what? We never signed the publishing deal.
Right. Oh, wow.
We have all the rights to our music, but no one ever placed it. So it's funny how, I'll tell bands, our photo shoot was $20,000 for our record.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Our recording budget was $200,000. Like they don't understand, they don't comprehend how much money there was. But what's great is that the bands that were able to do it on their own only benefited from that. And a perfect example is a band like Godsmack. Whenever I hear that great story about how Sully recorded that record by himself, and then recouped in like, a day. And then, and it's great when you hear those stories of those bands that were able to do it on their own. And a lot of bands, what I've seen is they ended up building their own studios. They ended up learning how to record within their own, within their own ranks, so they could do their own demos.
And not having to go and pay the $200,000 for this guy to sit in the studio and just say, you guys sounded good. And hey, maybe wait a second. Why don't you say this instead of that? And all of a sudden you got, wait a minute. How much money did we just give you? I think we changed one word and we used your place.
Yeah, like exactly. Like the Rick Rubens in the back sitting cross-legged looking at you go, that sounds great.
There you go. We know. But wait a minute. What are you doing here?
So tell me a bit what went into the production of this record.
Oh man. So Jason, this was so fun. I feel like this album really has the angst of all of us being at home, being away from everything that we're familiar with, being our lives on the road and what we do as artists. This is what we've done. This is how we've created, everything that we have here. So we were able to write at home, send stuff to each other. And I had this idea. Me and the wife, her grandparents left her a farmhouse. Joe Ed passed away at 96.
Wow.
He was amazing. That was my buddy, man. And they left us the farmhouse, and my wife wanted to go in, and we remodeled the farmhouse from the whole upstairs, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, whatever, it's the whole basement. Anyway, so I'm there, and I felt like, man, this would be a really great place to write music. 300 acres. We maintain about 15 with some cattle.
Nice.
And it's beautiful, so peaceful. And the only neighbors are her like uncle, cousin, across the street in these really big houses, and grandma and grandpa's house are small, but it's perfect. And I had Clint come down. We wrote a couple of songs, and we were looking at each other, and I was like, man, we need to get the band out here because this is too perfect. Man, Jason had the band fly out. John, a couple of guys drove. Vinny drove, I think. And the energy in that place was so amazing because grandma was a singer, was on the radio and all that stuff her whole life. The only thing that grandpa watched was Hee Haw. So it just kind of, it was at 100 decimals. Music is just in the area, in the house. Yeah. So to see Sevendust set up in grandma's bedroom, even though it's not her old bed, it's a new bed and stuff. Morgan's drum set in front of her bed, in front of the bed. Benny sitting on the end of the bed, John sitting in the chair, Clint behind the computer, the mic stand there, and Sevendust writing songs in this space, looking out this window at the cows and the farmhouse. It was just, and the silo, it was the most surreal thing. And I just caught myself always laughing and saying, if anyone knew what was going on in this house right now. And I remember one night, we moved over into the front bedroom. And so that's the front side of the farmhouse. And it's nothing but a gravel road still that goes all the way down to some other farms. And I went, and the sun was going down, and I looked in the front window, and Vinny and John were recording for maybe 2 or 3 of the songs that are on the new Truth Killer. And they were like, and that's all you could see in the old farmhouse. And I'm just like recording this, like, this is crazy. One morning, John wakes up getting ready to go take a jog. And I'm up, and he's drinking coffee or whatever. And he's like, man, I think it looks like one of your baby cows, the calves or something, is outside that gate. I'm like, no way. That's a new gate out there. He's like, okay, cool, whatever. And he's like, no, LJ, I think that calf is outside the gate. And I'm like, what? And I run outside. Sure enough, there's a little calf looking at us. Me and John Conley are chasing down one of my calves. John Conley's got on a pair of what do you call them? Daisy Duke biker running short things that he runs marathons in, and the tank top. And he's doing like this right here. And I'm like, stop doing that. He's freaked out.
So literally, it's the headline would have been Sevendust Gone Country.
Oh man, it's so true. And then right after that, to go back in the farmhouse and write songs, man, it was a very, very real feeling for us. It made me feel like when we were young and you had to find a space to make the music happen.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Of course. Before
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Before you have to find a place where you can make noise after night. You have to find a place where your gear's secure, where you're not going to get ripped off.
Yeah, at the farmhouse, and then mind you, we could open up the windows and jam and play guitar and have the amps outside and rip them all night long. But to have the space to find a room to make it all work, that was what was interesting. Like in this bedroom, oh, maybe we'll set up in the living room. Oh shit, there's a guitar in the kitchen. That was what was exciting and fun and made us feel like those kids. And then to take it from that, to move it into Elvis's spot in Orlando, which is the big mansion with the indoor pool and the recording studio all in the same house. It's a different vibe. It's great.
Yeah.
It's freaking amazing. But, we were just able to take that energy over to Elvis, and Elvis is like family. And like, I feel like he's a 6th member of the band.
Right.
So it was easy to get there and be set up in this one room with a live setup. And then Sevendust, I feel like that's where we do our best work, is when we're looking at each other, the band,
right, of course, cool,
not
yeah,
when we're, without a doubt, that's when it's the best. And then we, when we're in the studio, we all have setups in our room, so it's like a beehive. Once we get there for pre-production for maybe a week or two, I'm able to go and do vocals in Clint's room, my room, John's room, and I'm not even going into the recording studio yet. So it's really cool that we have this working process, that we're living in this house and we're working from 12 noon until 11 at midnight, 11 at night. And I think we take off Saturday or maybe a Sunday, but that's how we work during the week. We don't take off. And then, it just creates a very good work environment. And, I feel like it's conditioning, and it just, that's just the way we do it. And by the end of the album, man, well, maybe by the middle, I have a certain hum in my body.
Yeah.
And I know, what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no. I get it. I get it. It's like, no, for sure. And
you're there.
So what number is this for records? This is number
13 or 14.
That's what I was going to say. It's 13 or 14. So you guys got it down at this point. You know what you got to do.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Man, we know what we have to do, and we get in there and we get at it. At this point, it's still, you would think that it was boring, but it's exciting for me still right now, especially at this time of my life. I thought at 50 that I would be like other 50-year-olds that I know that are like, oh man.
I know. It's the strangest thing. I feel you 100%.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, 50 is the new 30 as far as I'm concerned, man.
Same. And I don't know if that's I don't know if that's just us with wishful thinking getting older, but I feel the same way. I'm like, I still feel like I did when I was 20.
I feel it that way, man. I feel like music has kept us that way. The pandemic slowed us down too. But then I'll tell you what, my daughter is going to the 10th grade, and she's had her daughter, the dances and all that stuff, and I've taken her to her. And the other day, maybe a month ago, made Daddy feel good. I was like, I know y'all embarrassed you and stuff. She's always like, Dad, oh God, blah, blah, blah.
Cringe.
And
Dad, you're cringe.
I'm like, I'm cool still, Jada, right? And she's like, yeah. She's like, yeah, I guess so. All the girls think you're cute. I'm like, and that really, for whatever reason, that made me feel good. I was like, oh my
I know.
God.
My daughter just turned 16, and we had a sweet 16 party for her. And she had like 15 girls here, and she's like, I think some of my friends think you're cute. And it's like,
that's all.
Right, I still got it.
Exactly. That's all I need.
That's all I need. That's all I need. That's all I need.
Yes, I am still cool. I'm not that old dad that's not cool.
Well, let me tell you, from one old guy to another, you're still cool. You've always been cool. The new record drops on the 28th. I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing some dates here in Canada. And dude, continued success. You seem like you're in a great place. You've always been a wonderful ambassador to this genre of music, but also you've always been very welcoming to younger bands. And I'll never forget how you treated me at the beginning with such respect. And continue, just keep kicking ass, man. You guys stay away from the trampolines, but keep kicking ass.
Don't worry. Absolutely. And thank you. God bless you, man, and your beautiful family and everything that you're doing, and continue being the ambassador that you are too, my brother.
I will do the best.
I can't wait to make sure you pull some strings to get us to Canada. I heard something about us coming over there, maybe with Alter Bridge or something. I don't know, but
if that's happening, I'm going to look into it, and I will make sure I come and say hi.
Okay. Right on. Make sure, brother. Hey, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.
All right, bud. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Man, I keep forgetting you have this other life. Like, you were part of this new metal movement in a time when it's like it's like talking to somebody who's in a grunge band. Like, it seems like like some eras of music have that really have that movement and have that movement where it's in the forefront of it, but you don't really notice it when I'm a teen. It's music and it's on television. Here we go. Yeah. But when you're older and you can kind of analyze a scene a little bit more, and you're like, okay, so this is taking off and this is what's happening and it's growing, and wow. Like, to me, it was just like, I checked out bands that Metal Hammer and Hip Rider told me to. You know what I mean? Like,
sure. No, of course.
Yeah. But a big shout out, though, because word of mouth, before the internet, word of mouth was a huge thing. I want to give a big shout out to my friend Kel that I went to high school with, who really, when it came to nu metal, he knew everything, and he knew all the bands. He told me about Fear Factory. Like, seriously, mad respect for Kel. Kel was one of those. Kel is one of those really fucking genuinely nice people. And I don't know. I'm really, buddy, if you're listening to this, I'm privileged to call you a friend, even though I haven't seen you in decades. Your lasting effect is still lasting on me. And he told me about Sevendust, and that's why I knew they were rad all those years ago.
Yeah, well, that's it. You know, these right before the internet blew open, you know, and social media got as popular as it is now, there were times where you needed people to turn you on to stuff. So I hear you loud and clear on that one. And yeah, the new metal movement, it's great. What's great about the new metal movement is very similar to what happened with hair metal. Hair metal, when it finished, people hated it. People shat on it. Now people look back on hair metal with this fondness, and it was great, and have respect for these bands. The same thing happened to new metal. When new metal was on its way out, nobody wanted to be associated with the title. Everyone hated it. Deftones were the first band to go like, fuck you, we're not new metal, even though you were. They were part of that whole thing. They were like, we're distancing ourselves from that. And now, you know, it's like, oh yeah, it wasn't so bad. Yeah.
Emo too was it was like a curse word for a while.
And now everybody, you know, now these bands are like, oh yeah, this was kind of cool what happened, because it was fucking cool. There was a lot of great music that came out of that. And there were a lot of bands that sucked and a lot of bands that just sounded like this or sounded like that. And,
but that's what watered down every movement is like the mediocre ones. So get the record deal because they sounded like something else. It's like, you know, you're watering down the pot.
It's and it happened in the late 80s, early 90s, when all these bands are getting signed. There's this band called 24/7 Spies, if you ever check them out. They were incredible, and they had a cult following, but they weren't, you know, Quicksand, same thing. Had a cult following, probably changed music more than people would like to even give them credit for, but didn't get this, you know. And
you have people like Rain Maida from RLAP talking about how like their albums are the most important albums of all time, and I'm like, brother, I could say the same fucking thing about Clumsy. You know?
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah. It's music that definitely inspires and gets passed on through all kinds of ways. So I just wanted to, before we wrap up, I wanted to I know we were at Fantasia a lot, and I wanted to give a shout out to your friend, Chris Pavoda, who was working with you on the weekend. He brought me a copy of his movie Dead Dicks. Oh, yeah. And I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but big shout out to Chris. Yeah,
I know the stuff you like, man. You know, I don't want to overhype anything, but I'm just saying he speaks your language, and what they did with the budget they had, Chris and Lee, it's astonishing.
Well, I'm super excited to watch it. So big shout out to Chris, and thank you for this, man. I'm definitely going to check it out. And if you're curious about it, it's available now through Raven Banner. I'm just impressed when someone I know makes a movie. Like, I have friends that are filmmakers, and I guess Chris is one of them now. When they A, make a film, B, it gets screened, and C, get a Blu-ray release, to me, they're like rock stars. So the fact that I own a friend's film, I think is great. And I'm just so impressed by it. I guess it's like back in the day when someone would have their CD, like, we made a CD.
Oh my God. When I bought a friend's CD that was recorded in their dad's garage or something with one microphone, I was still so jazzed. I'm like, oh, you have music that exists I can play without listening to you live? What?
100%. Yeah. Now, think of the music being, you know, yes, nowadays, if someone wants to press a CD or a vinyl, you know, it's somewhat straightforward, but this is a whole other fucking level, dude. Making movies, I have so much respect for filmmakers and anyone involved with that process, that anybody that goes to a movie and just shits on it has zero respect for the craft and the work that goes into it. I can't, in good conscience, go see a movie. If I don't like it, I just won't talk about it. But I will not trash it, because there's too much that goes into it. Too much. And someone pushing something past, you know, across the finish line and making a movie is it's impressive. So anyways, shout out to Chris, and thank you for Dead Dicks. Maybe we should take bleep that out so we don't get, thank you for your film.
Well, his name's Richard though.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for your film, Dead Richards. Big shout out to my co-host, Ryan Stick. Thank you to our producer, Julia Kajurski. Thank you to our guest, Lajon Witherspoon of Sevendust. And thank you to Sarah Lutz of Looters for helping us coordinate that interview. And dude, thank you to Heartbeat Hot Sauce, the heartbeat of the Rockman Power Hour. Check out their Caribbean-style mango habanero, which has been the one I've been stuck on lately. And use our promo code Rockman20. and that will get you 20% off your entire order. Thank you to Studio House Designs, to AKG Equipment, and to all of you for joining us on this journey. And until next week, we'll see you on the Rockman Power Hour. Hey, thanks so much for supporting the Rockman Power Hour. We're almost 2 years strong, and we absolutely couldn't do this without your support. So make sure you click on one of these links to find our entire playlist of episodes. And if you haven't subscribed yet, right over there, hit it, and you won't miss anything.